Phil Robertson, best known as the father of the Duck Dynasty family, is facing a difficult time as his wife, Miss Kay, battles a serious illness. Their story takes a heartfelt turn, shifting from his wild early days to his family's rise to fame and the challenges they now face. Phil's journey is full of love, faith, and strength. But before exploring Miss Kay's diagnosis, it's important to understand the events that shaped his life. Phil Robertson, the man behind Duck Commander, grew up in the rough woods of Vivian, Louisiana. Born in a simple log cabin, he was the fifth of 7 children in a family that valued hard work over comfort. His parents, Merritt and James Robertson, faced financial struggles that kept their way of life rooted in the 1800s. They had no electricity, indoor plumbing, or modern comforts. The family made do with what they had and what they could gather from the land. Phil's childhood was a mix of adventure and hard labor. Instead of shopping in stores, they lived off the land. They grew their own fruits and vegetables, hunted deer and squirrels, fished local waters, and raised pigs, chickens, and cattle. In his book, Happy, 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 Phil mentions this time with a warm, nostalgic tone. He talks about how their happiness didn't come from possessions, but from their simple, tough lifestyle. Living off the land took grit and resourcefulness. Near Vivian and Huston, Phil's restored log cabin still stands, a symbol of his humble roots. The property belonged to his cousin, Nathan, and shows the Robertson family's strength and ability to fend for themselves. Phil was a natural athlete, excelling in football, baseball, and track during high school. His talent earned him a scholarship to Louisiana Tech in Ruston, where he played as the starting quarterback for the Bulldogs in the late 1960s. That was no easy feat, especially since his backup was Terry Bradshaw, who would later become a Hall of Fame quarterback. Bradshaw arrived at Louisiana Tech in 1966 with a reputation as a football prodigy from nearby Shreveport. But Phil had already become the team's main quarterback, a role he held for 2 seasons. He led the team in 1966 and 1967, showing he was a tough and skilled player. Despite his success on the field, Phil had other passions that kept him busy. He was pulled in many different directions. During his time at Louisiana Tech, Phil completed 179 of 411 passing attempts, gaining 2,237 yards and throwing 12 touchdowns. However, he also threw 34 interceptions, which showed his focus was often divided. Many believed he had the talent to go pro, but Phil's heart wasn't in football. His real passion was hunting, which often took over his attention. Bradshaw, who admired Phil's skills, once said that Phil Robertson loved hunting more than football. Phil would come to practice straight from the woods, with squirrel tails hanging out of his pockets and duck feathers on his clothes. He was a good shot, so no one minded much when he skipped practice for hunting. When the Washington Redskins offered him a chance to play professionally, he turned it down. To Phil, football was just a way to get his scholarship. Hunting was what truly mattered to him. He explained it simply. Terry went after deer, and he chased ducks. His words clearly showed his priorities. Despite his love for hunting, Phil didn't ignore school. He earned a bachelor's degree in physical education and a master's in education later on. These degrees would help him in his future businesses and media work. For now, they were just additional achievements. Though football could have brought fame and money, Phil chose the path that made him happy. His love for the outdoors and his family's way of life came first. Meanwhile, Kay, who would soon become his wife, had her own lively high school life. She was a cheerleader and debutante in 1964. She started dating Phil 2 years later, and they married soon after. Their marriage wasn't always easy. Phil's wild lifestyle, including drug use and partying, caused problems. But Kay's steady support and their shared faith kept them together. Kay and Phil had their first son, Alan, when she was only 15. Over time, they had 4 more sons, Jace, Willie, and Jeff. The family also grew with 16 grandchildren and some great-grandchildren. As their family grew, Phil's dreams did too. What began as a small side project became a huge success. Phil started Duck Commander with nothing but his love for hunting and an idea. For 25 years, he made duck calls from Louisiana cedar trees. He couldn't have guessed how big the company would become. The business grew into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. Duck Commander, based in West Monroe, Louisiana, became a well-known name in hunting and outdoor activities. Phil's invention of the duck call and securing a patent for it laid the groundwork for the business's growth. As the company expanded, Willie Robertson, along with Phil and Kay's third son, became CEO, with his wife Corey helping manage the company. Willie turned the family business into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. The company diversified its products, selling not only duck hunting gear, but also fishing gear through Fin Commander, turkey hunting gear via Strut Commander, and deer hunting gear under Buck Commander. Duck Commander's reach spread into toys, fashion, and media, including books, video games, and a string of successful TV shows like Duck Commander, Buck Commander, Fin Commander, and the popular reality series Duck Dynasty. This show aired on A&E from 2012 to 2017 and made the Robertson family famous. It focused on the lives of Phil and his brother, Cy, as well as Phil's sons, Jace, Willie, and Jeb. The series also featured their wives, Miss Kay, Corey, and Jessica, as well as their co-workers and children. The mix of humor, family values, and Southern charm struck a chord with viewers and made the show a hit. During its peak, the Season 4 premiere drew 11.8 million viewers, setting a record as the most-watched non-fiction cable series ever. Before Duck Dynasty's fame, Phil went through a tough time. After leaving his job as a teacher, he managed a bar in 1975, which caused him to separate from Kay. During this difficult period, Phil found his faith, which brought him back to his family. It also set him on a new path. His dissatisfaction with existing duck calls pushed him to innovate. In 1972, he made the first Duck Commander call. The next year, he founded the company, starting the Robertson family's journey to wealth and fame. Their media plans didn't end with TV. They launched other shows like Duck Men and Benelli Presents Duck Commander on the Outdoor Channel. They also made a spin-off called Buck Commander. The family kept busy with podcasts, including Ooh, That's Good, hosted by Cy Robertson, and Unashamed, hosted by Jace, Phil, and Alan. In 2023, they released a film called The Blind, which tells the story of Phil and Kay's journey. Along with ongoing podcasts, this keeps the Robertson legacy alive and thriving. Duck Dynasty's debut was a huge success in 2013. During its first 9 months, it brought in $80 million from advertising. That was just the start. The show's product sales added another $400 million, making the Robertson family household names. Duck Dynasty had a special charm that kept viewers hooked and shattered many records. The Season 2 finale, a Christmas special on December 5, 2012, became the most watched episode in A&E's history at that time. But the show kept growing. When Season 3 launched on February 27, 2013, it drew 8.9 million viewers, beating previous numbers. About 5 million viewers were between 25 and 54, with another 5 million aged 18 to 49. The ratings kept rising. The Season 3 finale aired on April 24, 2013, with 9.6 million viewers, making it the top-rated telecast in A&E history. Of those viewers, 5.6 million were adults 25 to 54, and 5.5 million were 18 to 49. The Season 4 premiere took things even higher, with 11.8 million viewers. This was a 37% jump from the previous season's start, making it the most watched non-fiction show on cable at the time. The Hollywood Reporter said the average audience for Season 4 was 9.4 million viewers. In October 2013, Yahoo Trends specialist Carolyn Clark said Duck Dynasty costumes were among the most searched celebrity-themed costumes that month. By October 17, 2014, the show averaged 8.3 million viewers. The audience also had some clear traits. Most fans on Facebook leaned Republican. A New York Times study said Duck Dynasty was most popular in rural areas, especially in Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana. It even gained fans in the Philippines, but all good things come to an end. The show finished after 11 seasons on March 29, 2017. Its final episode was called End of an Era. The last scene had C. Robertson and ZZ Top singing the theme song Sharp Dressed Man. That made for a strong finish. Despite its success, Duck Dynasty faced controversy. On December 18, 2013, A&E said Phil Robertson was suspended for an indefinite time. This came after an interview with GQ's Drew McGarry. In the interview, Phil spoke about what he believed was sinful behavior. His comments included views on homosexuality, bestiality, and other acts. His words caused a media firestorm. During the interview, he was blunt and spoke openly about his religious beliefs. Drew quoted a passage from 1 Corinthians and discussed behaviors he saw as sinful. Phil's comments on same-sex relationships were especially offensive and sparked widespread backlash. A&E issued a statement saying Phil respected all people but still decided to suspend him. This suspension led to a large protest from fans and supporters, including many political figures, criticizing the network's choice. A Facebook page supporting Phil quickly gained 1.5 million likes in less than 10 days, and A&E eventually lifted the suspension before any new episodes aired. Phil stood firm in his beliefs, reiterating his opinions in public appearances. He continued to speak about his faith and convictions openly despite the controversy. His statements drew backing from social conservatives, corporate supporters, religious groups, and Republican leaders like Sarah Palin, Bobby Jindal, and Mike Huckabee. His love of controversy didn't end there. After receiving the 2015 Breitbart Defender of the First Amendment Award, Phil made more divisive remarks during a speech at CPAC. He linked STDs to past counterculture movements and told a vivid story about an atheist family being brutally attacked, using it to warn about moral relativism. These remarks went viral and added to his image as a controversial figure. Phil also claimed that Duck Dynasty editors told the family not to say Jesus' name during the show's closing prayers. He believed this was done to avoid offending non-Christians. He saw this as part of a larger spiritual fight, claiming the show was censored for its Christian message. Phil and his family always stood by their faith. As a devout Christian, Phil attended the White's Ferry Road Church of Christ in West Monroe. His journey from a troubled past to a life rooted in faith was a key part of his public image. He openly talked about opposing abortion and shared his religious views often during public events. Phil was also active in politics. He supported Republican candidates like Vance McAllister in a special election for Louisiana's 5th District. McAllister's surprising win was seen as thanks to Phil's backing. He also supported Ted Cruz and later backed Donald Trump during the 2016 campaign. In 2017, Phil Robertson publicly supported Roy Moore during Alabama's Senate race, even speaking at one of Moore's rallies despite the controversies surrounding him. The Robertson family's influence and fan base stayed strong. They kept engaging with fans through podcasts and social media. In June 2021, Kay Robertson faced a serious injury when Bobo, their dog, bit her face. The bite happened late at night, and Phil remembers Kay coming to him with a cloth on her lips and saying she needed to go to the hospital. The bite split her upper lip in two. She had to follow a liquid diet and would need reconstructive surgery later. The family chose to keep Bobo, recognizing that the aging dog had cataracts, and was startled when Kay bent down to kiss him goodnight. Phil and his son Al shared about a tough time for their family. Both men cared for their wives during illness and recovery. This period made Phil realize how much Miss Kay had done for him over the years. They talked openly about their love and struggles, showing how love helped them get through. Phil said caring for Miss Kay was one of the hardest things he ever did. As he spent more time at home, he saw how slow her healing was and how much he had taken her for granted. Miss Kay was the foundation of the family and now needed constant care. Phil felt humbled, a man used to being strong and independent. Al was also caring for his wife Lisa, who was recovering from a recent diagnosis. Both men learned to be patient, kind, and ready to serve without expecting anything back. Phil reflected on how this season of life brought him closer to God. Seeing acts of love reminded him of God's presence. He said caring for their wives became a spiritual journey that made their faith stronger. They believe that grace isn't about repayment, but about paying forward. They want to be more like Jesus in the way they serve others. Phil shared that he had taken for granted all the work Miss Kay did around the house. She was always there, cooking, cleaning, and managing everything with grace and strength. Her devotion was clear in how she kept everything running smoothly. As her illness took hold, Phil stepped into new roles and saw how much Miss Kay had given over the years. He opened up about growing up in a time when women were expected to do certain things. This made him realize how deep her contributions truly were. Her fight with idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, IPF, in 2017 hit their family hard. IPF is a long-lasting lung disease that causes scarring, making it hard to breathe. The cause is still unknown, but experts believe it's linked to a mix of environment and genetics. Despite the tough outlook, Miss K stayed hopeful. She faced each day with courage and faith. In March 2023, Phil posted on Instagram about her condition. He said she was in the hospital but was getting better and eager to go home. Phil also shared his struggles with addiction and how he pushed his family away during dark times. This added a new layer to their story. He talked about how sin can weigh people down, but also about the hope and freedom faith in Jesus offers. In April, Phil shared another story about his daughter-in-law, Lisa. She was diagnosed with breast cancer, but responded with grace and strength. Instead of asking, "Why me?" she asked, "Why not me?" Her faith and gratitude inspired everyone. Phil praised her attitude, showing how she saw her pain as a way to help others. The Robertson family is big, close, and faith-focused. Phil, Kay, their 4 sons, Alan, Chase, Willie, and Jeff, and their 16 grandchildren, plus some great-grandchildren, make up a strong clan. Each person has their part to play in carrying on the family's legacy. Their path has been full of faith and perseverance. They've faced health problems and personal loss, but they always turn to each other and their faith. Despite her fight with IPF, Miss K remains a symbol of strength and love. The Robertson family is proof of how faith, family, and love can hold a family together through any storm.